My beloved friends, hear me when I tell you life will test you. It will break you, bend you, stretch you. And yet, if you keep living, if you keep breathing, you will learn this one sacred truth. God can be trusted to take care of you. I stand before you not as a perfect woman, but as a witness to God's grace, a witness to his mercy, a witness to his unshakable care. Beloved friends, let me linger on this truth. God knows your worth before the world does. Before a boss recognizes your talent, before a teacher praises your work, before a neighbor sees your light, God already stamped greatness upon your soul. He already whispered over you, you are mine, you are enough. But think about it. When a seed is buried deep in the soil, no one praises it. No one walks by the field and claps for the seed. It is hidden, unseen, covered in dirt, but God knows what is inside that seed. God knows that the oak tree already lives inside the acorn. God knows the harvest already lives inside the grain of wheat. Just because people cannot see your potential does not mean you do not have it. Your value is not determined by how many people applaud you. It is determined by the one who created you. I remember times in my life when I felt invisible. Times when I worked hard, gave my best, and still felt unnoticed. Maybe you have been there too. You gave your all in school, but no one said, well done. You sacrificed for your family, but they took it for granted. You try to show kindness in a world that is often unkind, and still no one noticed. In those moments, it is easy to believe the lie that you are not valuable. But listen to me, your worth is not up for debate. It was settled the day God formed you in the secret place. Let me bring it close to daily life. Imagine a diamond. When it is first dug out of the earth, it looks like just another rock, dirty, rough, unimpressive. If you did not know any better, you might throw it aside, but the jeweler knows. The jeweler sees beyond the dirt, beyond the rough edges, to the brilliance inside. With time, with pressure, with care, the diamond shines. My friend, you are that diamond. People may overlook you now. They may call you ordinary, but the master jeweler, God himself, knows what he placed inside you. He sees the shine before anyone else does. Some of you have been told all your life that you are not enough, not smart enough, not pretty enough, not rich enough. And if you are not careful, you will start to believe it. But let me remind you, the one who designed the universe, who placed stars in the heavens and told the oceans where to stop. He made you with his own hands. He called you good. He called you his masterpiece. So even if no one else gives you a title, even if no one else applauds, you must learn to walk with your head held high, knowing your value comes from God. Think about the story of a child bringing home a painting. To the world, it looks like messy scribbles. But to the mother or father who loves that child, the painting is priceless. Why? Because of who made it. In the same way, you are priceless because of who made you. The world may look at you and see flaws, mistakes, or failures. But God looks at you and sees his creation, his beloved, his child. That alone is enough to rest in. Now, let us make it even more real. Imagine you are at your workplace, giving everything you have. You stay late, you work hard, and yet the promotion goes to someone else. You feel invisible, unappreciated. But remember, God sees you. He saw every hour you worked, every effort you gave, every sacrifice you made. When man forgets, God remembers. When man overlooks, God watches closely. And in his timing, he will reward you in ways no paycheck can measure. Or imagine you are a mother at home, cooking meals, cleaning rooms, wiping tears, telling bedtime stories. Day after day, you give your heart and nobody stands up to give you a trophy. Yet heaven is recording your labor of love. God sees it all. And because he sees, your value is never diminished. Even when you walk alone, even when you feel forgotten, God whispers, I know you. I made you. I value you. You are not hidden from him. Think of the bird in the sky. It may seem like no one notices it flying across the horizon, but Jesus said not even a sparrow falls without the Father knowing. If God notices a tiny bird, how much more will he notice you, his child? So when the world questions your worth, you must remind yourself of this daily. I am seen. I am known. I am loved by God. Say it when you rise in the morning. Say it when you walk into that office. Say it when you feel the weight of loneliness pressing against your heart. Because the truth will always be stronger than the lie, you see. The world often celebrates the finished product, but God celebrates the process. The world waits until you succeed to cheer for you, but God was already cheering when you took your first step. The world may say you are small, but God says you are chosen. The world may measure you by your possessions, but God measures you by your purpose. So let no one define your value. Not the critics, not the doubters, not even your own fears. You were valuable before you had a degree, before you had a job, before you had recognition. You were valuable when you were hidden. You are valuable when you are seen, and you will be valuable forever because your worth comes from God, not from man. Friends, live each day knowing this truth. Walk into rooms with your head lifted high. Do not shrink. Do not apologize for being who you are. You are not ordinary, you are extraordinary, because the creator of heaven and earth says so. And if God says you are valuable, who dare say otherwise? My dear friends, let us sit with this truth. Trouble does not mean abandonment. Too often when life grows heavy, when the road grows dark, when we are faced with loss, sickness, or betrayal, our first thought is, God, where are you? Have you left me? Have you turned your face away? But I am here to remind you that trouble is not a sign of God's absence. It is a stage for his presence to be revealed. Think of a child who is learning to walk. The mother does not hold that child's hand every single step, though she is near. There are moments when the mother lets go, so the child may find its balance, so the child may learn to trust its own legs. The child may stumble, may even fall, but the mother never leaves the room. She is close enough to reach out, close enough to catch, close enough to comfort. That is how God is with us in times of trouble. Just because he allows the stumble does not mean he has abandoned the child. Trouble is part of the human condition. Every man, every woman, no matter their wealth, their education, their background, will face moments of pain. Some of you listening now may be in the thick of it. You might have lost a job you depended on. You might be watching your health decline. You might be in a relationship that has shattered your heart. And in those moments, the whisper of fear will come. If God loved me, I wouldn't be here. If God cared, this wouldn't be happening. But let me tell you, even Jesus himself faced trouble. He was rejected, betrayed, and crucified. Yet through it all, the Father was still with him. Trouble was not abandonment, it was preparation for glory. Let me give you an image from everyday life. Imagine the process of gold being refined, gold is placed into the fire, and in the heat the impurities rise to the surface. It is not a comfortable process. It is hot, it is painful, it is consuming. But the fire does not destroy the gold, it reveals its purity, it brings out its shine. When you walk through trouble, you are not being destroyed, you are being refined. The fire is not abandonment, the fire is transformation. Think also about the storm. If you have ever flown on an airplane, you know the turbulence that comes when the plane hits a storm. The winds shake it, the clouds cover everything, and passengers grow fearful. But the pilot knows something the passengers cannot see. If the plane keeps climbing, it will rise above the storm. The sun is still shining above the clouds. Trouble may surround you, but the sun of God's love has never stopped shining. Just because the storm blocks your view does not mean the sun has vanished. I recall a woman who once shared her story. She had lost her husband suddenly and was left to raise her children alone. Nights were long and mornings were heavy. She said she would cry until there were no more tears left to cry. And yet, she testified that in those very nights, she felt a strange peace she could not explain. A strength that did not belong to her. That was God. Trouble did not mean he abandoned her. In fact, it was in trouble that he drew closest. Daily life teaches us this again and again. When a student faces exams, the teacher is silent. The teacher does not speak during the test. But silence does not mean absence. The teacher is still in the room watching, trusting the student to use what has been taught. Sometimes God's silence in trouble is not a sign of abandonment. It is a sign that he trusts what he has already placed in you. Think of Joseph in the Bible, thrown into a pit by his brothers, sold into slavery, imprisoned unjustly. If you stop the story halfway, you would think God had forsaken him. But the pit was not the end. The prison was not the end. Those troubles were the pathway to the palace. Sometimes the trouble you are in is only the doorway to where God is taking you. Let me bring it closer. Suppose you are a single parent working 2 jobs, exhausted, wondering how you will make ends meet. Trouble surrounds you. But if you look closely, you will see small mercies. The neighbor who watches your child when you're late, the friend who drops by with a meal, the unexpected encouragement that keeps you going. Those are reminders that God is still present. Trouble does not erase his care, it magnifies it. And what about those nights of loneliness? When the house is quiet and your heart feels empty? Even there, you are not abandoned. God is as close as your next breath, as near as your whispered prayer. He promises, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Never means never, not in sickness, not in heartbreak, not in confusion. So, my beloved, change the way you look at trouble. Instead of asking, why me? Ask, what is God showing me? Instead of saying, I am alone, say, God is with me in this. Trouble can become your teacher, your trainer, your stage for growth. It can shape your character, deepen your faith, and open your eyes to God's power. The next time the storm rises, the next time the fire burns, the next time the tears fall, remember this: trouble does not mean abandonment. It means God is close, refining you, shaping you, and preparing you for something greater. And when you look back, you will not just see the pain. You will see the hand that carried you through it. My beloved friends, Let me lean into this truth with you. Faith is not blind, it is brave. Too many people think faith is for the naive, for those who close their eyes to reality, for those who do not understand the difficulties of life. But no, faith is not blindness. Faith is not ignorance. Faith is the courage to face reality with the strength of hope. It is looking at the mountain in front of you and saying, I don't know how I will climb it, but I believe there is a way. Faith is not the absence of fear. It is moving forward even while your knees tremble. It is the whisper that says, yes, the night is dark, but morning will come. It takes bravery to believe in what you cannot yet see, to trust in what has not yet appeared, to hold on to a promise that has not yet been fulfilled. That is not blindness. It is courage beyond measure. Think of a farmer planting seeds. He takes a handful of small, fragile seeds and buries them in the soil. To the naked eye, there is nothing there but dirt. If you judged only by sight, you would say he has lost his seeds, that he has wasted them. But the farmer knows something more. He knows that hidden in the dark soil, life is at work. He cannot see the harvest yet, but he believes in it. That is faith. Faith is not pretending the dirt is not there. Faith is trusting that beneath the dirt, growth is happening. That is not blindness. It is bravery. Let me bring it closer. Imagine a woman starting over after losing everything. Perhaps her marriage has ended or she has lost her job. The bank account is nearly empty and the future looks uncertain. If she were blind, she would ignore the pain. But faith does not ignore pain. Faith walks through it. Faith gives her the courage to wake up the next morning, to send out another application, to try again when everything inside of her says to give up. That takes bravery. Faith gives her the ability to look beyond the circumstances and say, this is not the end of my story. A faith is like stepping onto a bridge you cannot see fully. Imagine driving in a fog. The road stretches ahead, but you can only see a few feet at a time. Yet you keep moving. You trust that the road continues even when your eyes cannot confirm it. That is what faith is, moving step by step even when the destination is hidden. That is not foolishness, it is bravery. I think of a child learning to swim. The child stands on the edge of the pool, afraid of the water. The father is inside the pool, arms open wide, saying, jump, I will catch you. The child cannot be sure. What if the father lets go? What if the water swallows them up? But faith is not pretending there is no water. Faith is saying, I trust my father more than I fear the water. The bravery is in the jump. In daily life, we see faith every day, though we rarely call it that. Every time you sit in a chair, you trust it will hold your weight. Every time you board a bus, you trust the driver to take you to the right place. Every time you hand your child to a teacher, you trust they will be cared for. If we can have such faith in ordinary things, how much more should we be brave enough to trust the one who created all things? Faith is also the courage to stand alone. There will be times when others laugh at your belief, when they call you foolish for holding on to hope. But it takes courage to keep believing when no one else does. Think of Noah building the ark. People mocked him, ridiculed him, called him mad. Yet he kept building, not because he was blind, but because he believed. That is the bravery of faith. And let me remind you, faith is not always loud. It is not always shouting from the rooftops. Sometimes faith is quiet resilience, the courage to get out of bed when depression weighs heavy, the courage to forgive when bitterness feels easier, the courage to keep loving when your heart has been broken. That quiet, steady persistence is faith. It is bravery clothed in humility. Faith also allows us to dream. Without faith, life shrinks to what we can see and touch. But faith expands our vision and says, yes, I may live in a small house today, but I believe my children will live better tomorrow. It says, yes, the doctor has given a hard report, but I believe healing is still possible. It says, yes, the world is broken, but I believe goodness will prevail. Faith sees beyond the limits of the present moment. So, my beloved, when you are faced with fear, do not think faith is blindness. It is not closing your eyes. It is opening your heart. It is the bravery to believe that your story is bigger than your struggle, that your life is more than your present pain, that your God is greater than your greatest fear. The world may call you foolish for believing, but I tell you, there is no greater bravery than faith, to hold on to hope when hope seems gone, to trust in love when love has wounded you, to rise again when life has knocked you down. That is the courage of faith. And when you walk in that kind of faith, you will discover strength you never knew you had, doors you never thought would open, and miracles you never thought could happen. So walk bravely, my friends. Believe boldly. For faith is not blind, it is brave. My beloved friends, hear me now. God provides strength when you have none. There are moments in life when your body grows weary, when your spirit feels crushed, and when every step feels heavier than the last. In those moments, it is not your willpower, not your cleverness. Not even your physical strength that carries you forward. It is God Himself giving you strength that rises from a place deeper than your muscles, deeper than your mind, deeper than your very bones. There are days when you wake up and the weight of life sits on your chest like a stone. Maybe you are tired from working 2 jobs just to keep food on the table. Maybe you are weary from carrying the responsibility of caring for aging parents or raising children alone. Maybe your strength is drained by battles no one else sees. Anxiety, heartbreak, grief, or fear. And yet, somehow you keep moving. Somehow you keep rising. Somehow when you thought you had nothing left, there was still a little more inside you. That, my friends, is God giving you strength. Think about the mother who stays up all night with a sick child. Her body aches for rest, her eyes are heavy, but love pushes her forward. Where does that strength come from? It comes from a well that never runs dry. It comes from the one who renews her energy when she has no more to give. Or imagine a man who loses his job after years of dedication. He feels defeated, ashamed, unsure how he will provide for his family. Yet the next morning he still dresses, still searches, still hopes. That persistence, that courage to keep moving forward even when you are crushed, is not from human effort alone. That is God's strength working in secret places of the soul. Sometimes God's strength shows up in the quietest ways. Maybe you've been in bed with sorrow and suddenly you feel a whisper in your heart, "Get up, try again." Maybe you are on the verge of quitting, and then someone calls, speaks encouragement, and you find yourself breathing easier. That moment of renewal, that unseen push is not coincidence, it is God. Think of the eagle soaring high above the storm. The eagle does not fight the wind, it uses the wind to rise higher. In the same way, God's strength does not always remove the storm, but it gives you the ability to soar above it. You may not be able to change your circumstances, but you can rise with a strength that is not your own. And oh, how many times people have said, "I can't go on," only to find out they did. The widow who thought she could not live another day after her husband's death, yet years later she is still standing. The student who thought he would fail, yet somehow passed the exam. The addict who thought they would never break free, yet found the strength to change. All of these are living testimonies that when your strength ends, God's strength begins. Daily life is full of these hidden miracles. Have you ever noticed how a candle burns brighter in the darkest room? That is what God's strength does. It shows up when you need it most. It may not always roar like thunder. Sometimes it is gentle, like a whisper, reminding you, you are not alone, you can make it. Keep walking. There is a story of a man climbing a mountain. Halfway up, his legs give out. He is tired, discouraged, ready to turn back. But then a stranger comes along, offers him a hand, and helps him take the next steps. That is how God often works. He sends strength through people, through kindness, through unexpected help. You may feel weak, but God surrounds you with His strength in ways you may not even recognize. Let me tell you something important. Strength is not only about power, it is about endurance. Anyone can run when the road is easy, but it takes God-given strength to keep walking uphill when your feet ache, when your lungs burn, when your heart is heavy. That kind of endurance does not come from you alone. It comes from the one who promises to renew your strength like the eagles. Sometimes you may feel like the widow with just a little oil left in her jar, wondering how you will survive another day. But God has a way of multiplying what is left. You may feel like you only have 1 ounce of strength remaining, but in His hands that 1 ounce is enough to carry you another mile, another week, another season. And let us be honest, there are times when we do collapse, when we fall, when we say, "I cannot do this anymore," and yet somehow we rise again. Somehow we find ourselves standing after the fall. That is proof that strength came from a place beyond us. So when you feel drained, when you feel like you have nothing left, do not despair. You are not running on empty. You are being carried. God does not always stop the storm, but He gives you strength to withstand it. He does not always remove the burden, but He gives you shoulders strong enough to bear it. And one day when you look back at your life, you will see the moments when you thought you could not continue, yet you did. You will see the nights when you thought you would break, yet you did not. You will see the days when you thought your strength was gone, yet somehow you moved forward, and you will know it was not you, it was God. My beloved friends, let this truth be carved into your heart. When your strength ends, God's strength begins. And that strength will never fail you, my beloved friends. Let me speak this word of hope into your heart. You are never too broken for God to use. The world will tell you otherwise. The world will say you are finished when you make a mistake. The world will say you are disqualified when you stumble. People will whisper about your failures, point to your scars, and shake their heads at your past. But God, oh listen, God does not discard the broken. God does not throw away the wounded. God takes what others call worthless and makes it priceless. Think of a potter working with clay. Sometimes the clay collapses on the wheel. It falls out of shape. It cracks. It looks ruined. But the potter does not throw it away. He kneads it, wets it, places it back on the wheel, and shapes it again. In the potter's hands, the broken clay becomes a vessel of beauty. That is what God does with us. He is the potter, and we are the clay. Even when life has crushed us, even when sin has scarred us, even when pain has bent us out of shape, God does not discard us. He reshapes us, remolds us, repurposes us. In daily life, we often admire things that have been restored. Have you ever seen an old piece of furniture, scratched and scarred, left in the corner of a dusty shop? Most people would walk past it. But then a skilled carpenter sees it, takes it home, sands it down, polishes it, and suddenly it becomes a masterpiece. That piece of furniture carries history, character, and beauty that brand new furniture cannot match. You see, the scars did not destroy it, they gave it uniqueness. In the same way, your scars, your past, your brokenness are not the end of your story. In God's hands, they are the very things that make your testimony powerful. Some of you believe your mistakes have disqualified you. You say to yourself, I am too far gone. I messed up too badly. God can't use me anymore. But look at the stories of those God used throughout history. Moses was a murderer, yet God used him to deliver a nation. David was an adulterer, yet God called him a man after his own heart. Rahab was a prostitute, yet she became part of the lineage of Jesus. Peter denied Jesus 3 times, yet he preached with such power that thousands came to faith. If God could use them, why not you? Think about the Japanese art of kintsugi. When a piece of pottery breaks, instead of discarding it, the artist repairs it with gold. The cracks are not hidden. They are filled with something precious. The broken places become the most beautiful parts of the piece. That is what God does with us. He takes our brokenness and fills it with His grace, His mercy, His love. The cracks become testimonies of His power. What once looked ruined becomes more valuable than ever before. Let me bring it close to daily life. Imagine a woman who grew up in hardship, made poor choices, and felt unworthy of love. For years she believed her story was over. But then she met God's grace. She found healing, forgiveness, and purpose. Now she spends her life helping other women find hope. Her brokenness became the very tool God used to touch lives. Or think of a man addicted to substances for years, destroying his family, his body, his future. People gave up on him. But when he surrendered to God, his life was rebuilt. Today, he helps others escape the same darkness he once lived in. The very thing that broke him became the thing God used to heal others. And maybe, my friend, that is your story too. Maybe you feel unworthy because of what you have done or what has been done to you. Maybe you feel like you are carrying too much shame, too much failure, too many regrets. But hear me, God is not finished with you. The cracks in your life are not the end, they are the places where His light shines brightest. Even in nature, we see this truth. Look at the tree struck by lightning, scarred and broken. It still stands, still gives shade, still produces fruit. The scar does not stop the life within it. Look at the rose that grows from the dirt. The dirt does not prevent its beauty. It becomes the very soil that nourishes it. Your brokenness is not the end. It is the soil for your growth. Sometimes we believe only perfect people can be used by God. But perfection is not what God requires. He requires willingness. All He asks is that you place your broken pieces in His hands. He will take your weakness and turn it into strength. He will take your failure and turn it into wisdom. He will take your pain and turn it into compassion. And let me tell you, the world needs people who have been broken and healed, because only the broken know how to comfort the broken. Only those who have walked through darkness can truly guide others to the light. Only those who have felt pain can speak words that heal. Your brokenness, once surrendered to God, becomes your ministry. So never say, I am too broken. Instead, say, I am broken, but I am in God's hands, and in His hands nothing is wasted. No mistake is too great. No past is too shameful. No wound is too deep. He can and will use you, scars, cracks, and all. One day, when you look back, you will realize the very things you thought disqualified you were the things God used to qualify you. The very pain you thought would destroy you became the platform for your purpose. The very brokenness you thought was the end of your story became the beginning of your testimony. So, my beloved, walk with courage. You are not too broken. You are not too far gone. You are a vessel in the hands of a loving God, and He will use every part of your story, the good, the bad, the broken, and the healed, for His glory. My beloved friends, let us sit together in this powerful truth. Gratitude unlocks God's care. There is something almost miraculous about a thankful heart. Gratitude does not change the circumstances around you, but it changes the way you see them. Gratitude does not erase the storm, but it gives you the courage to stand in the rain and still whisper, thank you. Gratitude is not just a polite word we say before a meal. It is a posture of the heart, a key that opens the door to God's peace, joy, and provision. So many of us spend our days focusing on what we lack. We complain about what we don't have, about the job we wish we had, the house we wish we lived in, the life we think we deserve. But gratitude shifts the lens. Gratitude says, I may not have everything I want, but I thank God for what I do have. And when you begin to count blessings instead of complaints, you suddenly see how much God has been taking care of you all along. Think of a child who receives a gift. When the child is grateful, the giver feels joy and is moved to give again. But when the child is ungrateful, when the child throws the gift aside and says, I wanted something else, the giver feels sorrow. In the same way, when we are grateful for what God has already done, our hearts are open to receive even more. Gratitude unlocks the flow of God's care. Look at daily life. You wake up in the morning and take a breath. That breath itself is a gift. You open your eyes and see the sunlight. That light is a blessing. You walk into your kitchen and pour water into a glass. That water is provision. Do you see? Gratitude does not wait for big miracles. It rejoices in the little ones that surround us every single day. I once heard the story of a woman who lost nearly everything in a fire. Her house, her clothes, her possessions. When someone asked her how she was coping, she said, I thank God that my children are safe. I thank God that we are alive. We lost things, but we did not lose each other. That is gratitude. Gratitude looks at ashes and still finds beauty. Gratitude finds light in the darkest night. Think of the Israelites in the wilderness. God provided manna from heaven every day, fresh bread falling from the sky. But instead of being grateful, they grumbled. They wanted more. They wanted something different. And their ingratitude blinded them to the miracle of daily provision. Isn't that what happens to us sometimes? God gives us food, but we complain about the taste. God gives us a job, but we complain about the workload. God gives us family, but we complain about their flaws. Gratitude shifts that. Gratitude teaches us to look again and say, Lord, thank you. Even this is a blessing. Have you ever met someone who radiates joy even though their life is full of challenges? That kind of joy does not come from wealth or comfort. It comes from gratitude. Gratitude is joy's closest companion. A thankful heart is a joyful heart. And when joy fills your spirit, even burdens feel lighter, even troubles seem smaller. Imagine two people walking the same path. One looks only at the thorns and mutters, this road is terrible. The other looks at the flowers between the thorns and whispers, how beautiful. The road is the same, but the experience is different because of perspective. Gratitude is that perspective. It is choosing to see the flowers instead of the thorns, the blessings instead of the burdens. And here is the mystery: gratitude invites more blessings. When you give thanks for what you have, you create space for more to come. Just as a thankful child encourages a parent to give again, a grateful heart attracts God's favor. Not because God needs our thanks, but because gratitude aligns us with His goodness. Gratitude opens our eyes to see what He is already doing. In daily life, practice gratitude in small ways. Before you eat, pause and thank God for the meal, even if it is simple bread and tea. Before you sleep, thank Him for the day. Even if it was difficult, you still made it through. Thank Him for the roof over your head, for the people who love you, for the strength to keep going. The more you practice gratitude, the more you will find reasons to keep practicing it. Think of the story of Paul and Silas in prison. Their hands were bound, their feet chained, their bodies bruised. But instead of complaining, they sang hymns of thanksgiving to God. And what happened? The prison shook, the doors opened, and they were free. Gratitude is powerful enough to break chains, both physical and spiritual. It does not just unlock God's care, it unlocks freedom. And perhaps you are asking, how can I be grateful when life is so hard? How can I be thankful when I am struggling to survive? Gratitude does not mean ignoring pain. Gratitude means acknowledging the pain, but choosing to see God's hand even in it. It is saying, this is hard, but I thank you, God, that I am not alone in it. This hurts, but I thank you, God, that you are still here. Gratitude is not denial. It is defiance against despair. Beloved, gratitude is a discipline. It is a choice we make daily. It is not always easy, but it is always worth it. When you choose gratitude, your heart grows lighter, your faith grows stronger, and your eyes begin to see blessings where others see only burdens. Gratitude is the key that opens the door to God's peace, His provision, His care. So let us live with thankful hearts. Let us wake each morning with a whisper of thank you on our lips. Let us walk through the day with eyes open to blessings. Let us lay our heads down at night and say, even in the struggle, God has been good. Because gratitude does not just acknowledge what God has done, it prepares us for what He is about to do. My beloved friends, Let me share with you a truth that is as steady as the sunrise and as certain as the tide. God's timing is always better than yours. We live in a world that runs fast. We live in a culture that tells us, hurry up, rush, get it now, don't wait. We want quick results, instant answers, and immediate blessings. But the divine clock does not tick to the rhythm of our impatience. God does not move by the pressure of our deadlines. He moves according to his perfect wisdom, his eternal vision, his loving plan. We often think we know best. We think if only we had that promotion right now, that relationship right now, that opportunity right now, life would be complete. And when it doesn't happen, we grow frustrated. We cry, Lord, why are you delaying? Why are you silent? But my dear, what feels like a delay to us is often preparation in God's hands. He is not denying us. He is shaping us. He is not punishing us. He is protecting us. Think of a farmer who plants a seed. If the farmer digs it up tomorrow and says, why haven't you grown yet? He destroys the very thing he hopes to see flourish. Growth takes time. The seed must stay hidden in the dark, in the soil, in the quiet until the appointed season, and then in the right time it breaks through. So it is with us. God plants dreams, hopes, and desires in our hearts, but they must go through seasons of waiting. If we force them too soon, they wither. But if we trust God's timing, they bloom in fullness. Let me give you a daily example. Have you ever rushed to bake bread or cook rice? If you take it off the fire before it is ready, it is half done, not fit to eat. But if you let it finish, if you allow the process, it becomes nourishment, blessing, satisfaction. Many of us want blessings half-baked. But God says, no, my child, wait. I am preparing something that will not just fill you for a moment, but sustain you for a lifetime. But think of the story of Abraham and Sarah. God promised them a son, but the years stretched long, their hair turned gray, their bodies grew old, and they wondered, Lord, have you forgotten? Yet in the fullness of time, when it seemed impossible, God delivered Isaac. Why so late? Because God wanted them, and the world, to know it was his doing. Not human effort. God's timing magnified his glory. And isn't that how life often works? We look back and realize that if we had received what we wanted earlier, we would not have been ready to handle it. That job we prayed for in our youth might have crushed us with responsibility. That relationship we longed for might have broken us with heartbreak. That opportunity we begged for might have led us down a dangerous path. But when it finally came, it came with peace, with stability, with strength. That is God's timing. Have you ever missed a bus or a flight, only to discover later that something happened that could have harmed you? At the moment you felt anger. You said, why this delay? But later you realized, God was protecting me. That is the mystery of divine timing. We may not understand in the moment, but God sees what we cannot see. Children often cry when their parents make them wait. They want the toy, the candy, the treat immediately. But the parent says, not yet. It's not the right time. And when the time is right, the gift comes, and it is safe and is good. In the same way, we are children before God. He withholds not to harm us, but to help us. He delays not to frustrate us, but to prepare us. Waiting is not wasted time. Waiting is working time. While we wait, God is working in the unseen. While we wait, he is arranging circumstances, aligning people, preparing hearts, shaping us into the kind of people who can carry the blessing without breaking under its weight. Sometimes the blessing is ready, but we are not. And so God waits, not to torment us, but to transform us. Think of Joseph in the Bible. As a young man, he dreamed of greatness. He saw visions of his family bowing before him. But before the dream became reality, he was thrown into a pit, sold as a slave, imprisoned in a dungeon. For years, it seemed as though God's promise had failed. But in the right time, Pharaoh called for him, and Joseph was lifted from the prison to the palace in a single day. If it had happened earlier, Joseph would not have been prepared. But in God's time, Joseph not only received the blessing, he carried the wisdom and strength to sustain it. Beloved, you may feel delayed right now. You may feel like life is passing you by. You may feel as though heaven has gone silent. But hear me, God is never late. He is never early. He is always on time, and when the appointed hour comes, no power on earth can hold back what he has for you. So while you wait, do not despair. While you wait, give thanks. While you wait, trust. For God's timing is better than your timing. His plan is better than your plan, and his care is greater than your understanding. One day, you will look back and say, Lord, I see it now. You are not late. You were right on time. And when that day comes, you will not just have the blessing, you will have the testimony that says, I waited, I trusted, I endured. And when God moved, it was worth every second. My beloved friends, let us settle into this truth. Like a weary soul finding rest after a long journey, trusting God is choosing peace over fear. In this life, fear comes knocking on every door. Fear of tomorrow, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of sickness, fear of death itself. Fear disguises itself in many forms. It can creep in as anxiety in the night, as worry over bills, as trembling when the future seems uncertain. But there is a choice we can make. We can let fear dominate us, or we can lean into the everlasting arms of God and find peace. And oh, what a gift peace is. It is not the absence of problems, but the presence of God's assurance that everything will be all right. Think about the storms of life. They are unavoidable. The winds will blow, the waves will rise, the thunder will roar. But fear says, you will drown, you will be destroyed. Peace, however, whispers, be still. The storm is loud, but God is louder. Peace does not deny the storm. It stands in the middle of it and says, my God is greater than this storm. Trusting God means you choose to anchor yourself not in fear, but in his unshakable promises. Take, for example, a child walking beside their parent on a busy street. Cars rush by, horns blare. The world feels dangerous. If the child walks alone, fear consumes them. But if the child clutches the hand of their parent, suddenly the noise fades. The danger is still there, but the child's heart is steady. Why? Because they trust the one holding their hand. That is what it means to trust God. The world may rage around you, but his hand never lets go. How many times have we lost our peace by rehearsing fears in our mind? We imagine the worst before it even happens. We play out disasters in our thoughts like endless movies. And yet most of those fears never come true. Fear steals today by making us worry about a tomorrow that may never arrive. Trust, on the other hand, allows us to breathe in this moment. Trust says, yes, tomorrow is unknown, but I know who holds tomorrow. And because he lives, I can have peace today. Consider the story of the disciples in the boat with Jesus. The storm rose high, the water poured in, and their hearts filled with terror. They cried, Lord, don't you care that we are perishing? But Jesus stood and rebuked the wind, saying, peace, be still. And in that moment, the storm obeyed. My friend, this is not just a story about the sea 2,000 years ago. It is a story about your life. The storms will rage, but Jesus is in the boat. Fear says, you're alone. Faith says, he is with me. Peace is not found in calm waters. Peace is found in knowing that the master of the wind and waves is present with you. Let me bring this closer to daily life. Imagine a man who loses his job. Fear tells him, you will not survive. Your family will starve. Your future is ruined. But if that man chooses to trust God, he can say, I don't know how, but I believe God will make a way. Days later, a door opens, perhaps a new opportunity, perhaps a provision from an unexpected place. And when it comes, he realizes that the peace he carried while waiting was more valuable than the job itself, because peace steadies the heart until the blessing arrives. Fear is heavy. It drains the body, clouds the mind, and crushes the spirit. But peace is light. Peace is like cool water on a parched throat. Peace allows you to sleep at night while others toss and turn. Peace is the evidence that you trust the one who promised never to leave nor forsake you. And yes, trusting God is not always easy. It is not about closing your eyes and pretending trouble does not exist. It is about opening your eyes wide and still saying, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. It is about shifting the weight from your shoulders to God's shoulders. Fear makes you carry the burden alone. Trust lets you hand the burden to God and walk lighter. Think about flying on an airplane. Passengers cannot see the pilot. They cannot control the winds. They cannot stop the turbulence. Yet they sit in their seats, buckle up, and trust the one in the cockpit. How much more should we trust the creator of heaven and earth, who sees the whole journey, who knows the destination, who controls the skies? Fear may shake us during the turbulence, but peace reminds us, I am not flying this plane. God is. Let us also remember that peace is contagious. When you choose peace over fear, the people around you are inspired. A mother's calm reassures her children. A leader's steady spirit strengthens the whole team. A friend's quiet trust can lift another from despair. Peace is not only a gift to you, it is a gift through you. So, beloved, when fear knocks at your door, let faith answer. When anxiety rises in your chest, breathe in the truth of God's promises. When the future feels dark, remind yourself that the one who holds the stars also holds your story. Trusting God is not about knowing every detail. It is about knowing his heart. And his heart is for you. His care is for you. His love is for you. Yes, the storm may roar. Yes, the night may be long. Yes, fear may try to whisper its lies. But you can stand in the middle of it all and say, I choose peace. I choose trust. My God is greater than my fear. And when you make that choice, peace like a river will flow through your soul, calming, steadying, carrying you safely forward. For when you trust God, fear loses its grip, and peace becomes your song. And that, my friends, is a life worth living. So my beloved friends, when life presses you down, Whisper this truth into your soul. God is still here. God still cares. God can be trusted. Stand tall in that knowledge. Walk boldly in that light. And when the world asks you how you keep smiling, how you keep shining, you tell them, I trusted God to take care of me. And he did. Pause, then close with deep conviction. And may you rise. May you shine. And may you trust God always.